Hi, my name is Dave Measle. I'm the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition, and we're really excited to be presenting these videos today. We just continue to grow and continue to do whatever we see is necessary to support the profession of peer services. Which brings us to this video, or these videos. One of the things that we recognize through conversations with other peer specialists and through our own experiences, because most of us who work here and are on the board of directors are peers ourselves. One of the things that we recognized was the need to have some more information out there about what a typical day of a peer specialist looks like. You know, what are the real world things that a peer specialist encounters? The 2-week training is amazing, and as I said, most of us are peers here at the Coalition. We've all been through one of the 2-week trainings, and we all walked out of that training feeling super inspired and super ready to go out and do this work and uplifted, which is awesome. But we wanted to provide some additional information about some of, again, the real world experience of a peer specialist. What does the day-to-day life of a peer specialist look like? What are some of the challenges that peer specialists face while providing this service? Our original vision was to create some in-person classes that people could come to and get information on, and we would create, slideshows and, PowerPoints and things like that. When we actually started to pursue that or discuss it more, it became clear that that wasn't going to be the best, most efficient way to achieve what we wanted to with this project. So then we kind of evolved and moved into creating this series of videos. And so then what we did is we went out and we started talking to other peer professionals, people who were on the ground doing the work face-to-face with peers on a daily basis. So that we could get their perspective on it. We had our own perspectives from our own experiences, but we wanted to gather as much as we could from other peer professionals across the state as well. So we started having these conversations. We sent out surveys, we had focus groups, all around this idea of what would you have liked to have known prior to taking the 2-week course. Knowing what you know now, as a certified peer professional, what's the information that would have been helpful to you before you decided to move in this field or move in this direction? And what we got from these discussions were kind of 6 basic areas that people really felt like they would have liked more information, in making a decision to move into peer work. None of them said that they hoped or wished that they had not moved into this field. Not all were still in the field either. But there were 6 areas that people really wanted more information or would have liked more information. And the areas included things like, what does the day-to-day life of a certified peer specialist look like? What does a day in the life of look like? What does documentation look like? I didn't know anything about documentation before I became a certified peer specialist. I would have liked to have known more. What does the actual certification process look like? How do I become certified? Information on ethics and boundaries. I would have liked to have had more information on that. What does the process through the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation look like? So we took these things and we said, okay, these are the things that we're being told that people wanted more information on. And we developed a set of questions around those topics. And then we went out and we set about finding subject matter experts in Pennsylvania. It's people who had done the job, who had, been a face-to-face peer for years and had a lot of experience doing this work so that they could share their insights with you. And so we started meeting with them, and what we did is we just set up a camera and sat down and we asked all of them the exact same set of questions, gathering information on these topics that we had been told were things that, people would have liked to have known. And so the following videos is really the result of these interviews, of talking to, as I said, very experienced, very well-spoken, certified peer specialists who had a lot of knowledge and a lot of insight to share. So we hope that these videos are going to be viewed by people who are interested in becoming peer professionals, who maybe want a little more information, for people who maybe aren't interested in becoming peer professionals but want to know more about what are peer professionals, like what do peer professionals do. So we're putting these videos out there as an educational piece to teach people or to inform people on peer services and what they are and what a day-to-day life looks like for an individual who does the work and is on the front lines every day. We have really enjoyed making these videos and meeting with these subject matter experts. They have all been amazing partners to work with on this project. We believe what we have to present to you is some really good information, and we certainly hope that you're able to take away some great, helpful, insightful information that will help you make a decision on whether or not you want to become a peer professional. Or if you're not becoming a peer professional, we hope that there's information in these videos that you can take away and walk away and say, now I really get it. I understand what a peer professional is. I understand the work that they do. I understand how important the work that they do is for the community. On behalf of everyone at the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition, I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. Know that we are here, that the coalition exists to support peer professionals and those who support the profession as well. So, if you need us for anything, we are here. Our contact information is in the videos. Feel free to reach out to us. But most of all, thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. And again, we hope that you really get some good information out of them and find them useful. Thank you.
Well, you're going to hear what the forms are called, right? We have a strengths-based assessment. That's kind of like the basis of everything we do in peer support, right? We know peer support is a strength-based thing. We kind of try to look at what our peers already possess and use that to build upon to develop the skills that they say they're going to need to.
It's kind of where you document the individual strengths, their hopes, their dreams, their desires, what they want out of the future, what they want out of working with you as a supporter.
Sometimes they call it individual goal plan, individual service plan, individual recovery plan. I've heard it called all of that. Sometimes I myself interchange them.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. And then in conjunction with that is the very important progress note. That is done on a daily, weekly basis whenever you meet with someone.
You'll hear the term, the official term is individualized service plan. Shortened version of that's ISP. You may hear it called a treatment plan, a recovery plan, a goal plan, simply a goal. But those are all the same thing. We've done that strength-based assessment. We've helped capture our peers' wants, wishes, hopes, dreams, skills, the things the strengths that they have. And then from that, we use the ISP, or that individualized service plan, as their goal, right? That's their goal statement. That's what they say they want to achieve.
So it's a document where you're going to put down what is it that you're going to support the peer with trying to achieve. What is their goal that they want out of life? What is it? What is their dream? What is their desire to make some sort of change in their life that you, as their certified peer specialist, are going to be able to support them in achieving.
Okay, the important thing about the strengths-based assessment is you do it with the peer and not for the peer. Where a clinician will write out a service plan or an assessment of the individual based on what they observe. But when you do a strength-based assessment with a peer, it's in cooperation with the peer and jointly with the peer, and you find out the things that are important to them and not the things that are important we would say a clinician. And long-term goals should always be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Yeah.
They call them SMART goals. New peer specialists should familiarize themselves with what a SMART goal is.
Also, daily progress note. That's just what it sounds like. That's the daily note that you write when you're with your peer. Also, you're going to hear things like, interventions and skills to be developed and stuff that's usually within the ISP and the daily progress note.
But terms like seem, might be, those are words that you use. You don't, if you don't know something, you can't say you do.
So the basics of documentation, I think that there are a few really important things that you should know about documentation. One, it's not necessarily something that comes naturally to most of us. I had never had a job prior to starting as a certified peer specialist where I had to write documentation. And so it was a brand new skill for me, and it was something that I had to learn to do. And it's one of the things that within the first week of me starting as a CPS that really overwhelmed me.
It is daunting. There's a lot of paperwork. And I didn't expect there to be that much documentation.
I do remember feeling overwhelmed. It really falls down to time management. Unfortunately, a lot of times peers think, and also some organizations, they lead with the peer work where most time, because you have to fulfill a quota and you have to do your job and get that face time, a lot of peers they're pushed to, and you have to do the job, but you have to have that face time. So you underestimate how much time you need to give to your documentation. And I think going into the position, you have to be mindful that each piece needs equal focus. It's just as important to get that face time and to engage with peers as it is to document it. If you didn't document it, it didn't happen.
Again, don't let it get overwhelming. If it gets overwhelming, go talk to your boss, talk to your supervisor, talk to other peers in the agency, and we're able to calm each other down.
But I would say go to your supervisor. They are the ones that will instruct you on how to do it, when to do it, what should be in it, in your paperwork, and what should not be in it.
First of all, you're living. So what's your living situation? How do you function at home? Do you know how to take care of a home? Do you know how to budget? Do you have a savings account? Transportation, those things that we need to do, or those things that we need to have for life, our living situation. Next would be learning. What's your past learning experience? High school, college, certifications, GED, and then, what would you like to do? Work experience. Work would be the next area, employment.
Basic things in documentation are the first and foremost and most important one is what intervention is used. In other words, how are you a support for the individual you were providing the service to? That's number one, and that's what your supervisor should be looking for. I know that's what the state will look for as well, is what was the intervention for this session with that particular peer. You want to describe the skills or the resources that you used with that individual, which are mostly based on recovery and not a clinical model of what's wrong with the individual. but what strengths they have to reach the goals that they want to reach, not the clinical outcome that the clinician or the doctor or the therapist wants.
It's not about us. It's about the peer or consumer, or if you want to call it, I try and find out the person's name. It's about the individual recovery plan.
One thing that I discovered early on, and documentation, I think is really, really important not to take shortcuts, to try to be as thorough as possible in your documentation. One thing I always remembered is the who, what, when, where, and why. Make sure I have that in my documentation.
Unfortunately, a lot of peers think the more words, the better. So you want to do the opposite. You want to think of your activities and how you engage with individuals more as bullet points. And once you have that bullet point, then you'll be able to expand as needed. So if you accompany someone to their case manager to talk about their budget, it's literally that, accompany peer to case manager to discuss budget. Then depending on what other information that needs to be in there for that particular note, that particular organization and individual, then you can make it longer.
That you describe in there how you supported the individual. Doesn't matter which part of the plan that's in, but the main thing is peer support and how you supported that individual when you met with them.
What I do, which I suggested to everybody, which works, is compose an email. Send it to yourself. You can open your email on your laptop, copy it, and you can paste that into the progress note. Go through it, your punctuation and all that.
Because sometimes people know you're a really good CPS and good person, but some people don't know you, and all they get to see is your documentation, and that speaks volumes about who you are.
I had been seeing this peer for a while, and he said, Dave, I want you to make me a copy of all of my progress notes, and I want the two of us to sit down and read through them and go over these notes. And I was like, sure, that's your right. They're your progress notes. You have every right to see them. And I didn't realize that I was doing this as I was writing them, because I was writing them, once or twice a week over a period of many months, maybe even over a year at this point. But as we read through them, they read like a story. And that's when I really realized that these progress notes were not simply to get paid. These progress notes were not simply to fulfill a red tape policy. That these progress notes and that the other documentation that I had been doing with this peer and with all my peers was their story with me. It was what we had done together. It was the changes that he had made in his life and what I had done to kind of support him along that journey. And so now when I talk about documentation with individuals, I really try to stress that and say, don't just view it as this necessary evil that we do because the insurance companies make us do it. Understand that this is the story. This is your story. This is your peer's story and the journey that you guys are going on together.
Documentation is how we honor the work that our peers have done, right? And having them be a part of that process of the documentation, that conversation, that back and forth, plus getting it all down on paper, that's their proof that they are working towards something, right? That is the actions of not only what we did as the peer specialist, but what our peers have done, the work that they have put in. And I really, the idea of like, yes, the documentation is part of something I need to do for my job, but more importantly, it's what that peer did. And it kind of, we're honoring their work that they are putting in towards their goal.